Is January 6th, a date that used to mean very little to most people outside of big political or constitutional nerds. However, since the terrible insurrection of the last January 6th, the last time we had a January 6th certification after election, a lot has changed. On the left, you can see Congress today, Harris presiding. On the right, you can see the same House chamber, which was evacuated 4 years ago because Trump fans that he summoned to Washington were criminally charging that Capitol. They took over the Senate chamber. It was a rare physical and violent illustration of what happens when inside this country we have people willing to break the law and commit violence, even terrible forms of violence, to stop the counting, or in this case, the certifying of the counted votes. Now, Republican lawmakers have moved a lot. Senator Marco Rubio is about to join the Trump administration if he's confirmed, and as a senator, he has a good shot to be. So tonight, for the record, I want to show you what he said exactly 4 years ago on the last January 6th.
Democracy is held together by people's confidence in the election and their willingness to abide by its results. And so the notion was, we need to do something, we need to fight. And several of my colleagues have adopted the idea, and I respect it, that they're going to object. Now listen, it's important to understand something. Even the people objecting in the Senate recognize that it's not going to pass. It's not going to change the outcome, but it's going to send a message. And it's going to make a point. The problem is, I think it's a terrible idea at this moment. Just hours ago, a young lady died in this Capitol. That means somebody somewhere in this country got a phone call that their daughter was dead. Daughter was going to a political rally. She is dead. Died in this Capitol, somewhere not far from where we are standing. We had police officers, the men and women that we walk by every single day that guard the doors and we say hello to, out there with riot gear, getting spit on and attacked. Today, not 10 weeks ago, just a few hours ago. And I think it's important to think about all those things on a night like tonight and everything that's happened. I think politics has made us crazy. Everybody in this country has lost their minds on politics. And we have forgotten that America is not a government. America is not a president. America is not a Congress. Let me tell you what America is. America is your family. America is your faith. America is your community. That's America. That's what our adversaries don't understand, and that's what we need to remember. That is how we're going to rebuild this country and turn the page and have a future even brighter than our past. And so that's why I feel so strongly about this, and why I hope those who disagree with me will understand.
That was Senator Rubio 4 years ago to the day. He felt so strongly, turn the page, rebuild, honor the police who were so savagely attacked by those Trump fans. Today, exactly one presidential election later, that same Senator Rubio is trying to join the Trump administration, which is going even farther than what he knew that day, with Trump vowing pardons for the people who attacked the police that he then claimed to stand up for. That's Rubio. Senator Lindsey Graham has been a very loud supporter of Donald Trump when he had power. Remember, Graham was one of the loudest critics of Trump in 2015 before he got the nomination, warning about him. And he seemed to go back to that mode, at least briefly, 4 years ago today on Jan 6th.
All I can say is count me out. Enough is enough. I've tried to be helpful. But when the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled 4-3 that they didn't violate the Constitution of Wisconsin, I agree with the 3, but I accept the 4. If Al Gore can accept 5-4, he's not president. I can accept Wisconsin 4-3. Fraud. They say there's 66,000 people in Georgia under 18 voted. How many people believe that? I asked, give me 10. I hadn't had one. They said 8,000 felons in prison in Arizona voted. Give me 10. I hadn't gotten one. Does that say there's problems in every election? I don't buy this. Enough's enough. We got to end it. Vice President Pence, What they're asking you to do, you won't do because you can't. If you're a conservative, this is the most offensive concept in the world, that a single person could disenfranchise 155 million people.
Enough is enough, he said that day. 4 years later, it's not enough. And remember, no one is demanding the politically unlikely that these people just give up forever on the leader of their party, although some, like Liz Cheney, did that. We're just talking about the narrow line of being able to repeat today what they claimed 4 years ago and oppose the pardons being dangled right now for the people who attacked the police on their way to trying to attack and savage and injure or kill them, members of both parties. And you could almost hear the intensity and the fear of Republican leader Kevin McCarthy, who during a part of the attack unfolding called into Fox News.
This is so un-American. I condemn any of this violence that's happening in the Capitol right now. I could not be sadder or more disappointed with the way our country looks at this very moment. People are getting hurt. Anyone involved in this, if you're hearing me, hear me very loud and clear. This is not the American way. This is not protected by the First Amendment. This must stop now. As a nation, we've got to come together. This is so unacceptable. What I see happening at this very moment. We can disagree, but we do not take it to this level. People are being hurt. There's been shots that have been fired. This is unacceptable.
You can confirm that shots have been fired inside the Capitol or outside?
I'm with Capitol Police. I heard on the radio shots fired. I watched what was happening inside the building. People have to be locked down. Members have to be locked down. This is the people's house. This is a house that people come in and watch us debate. In a normal time, in a normal America, people would be in the galleries watching us debate each side and have a vote and accept what happened in the end. That's not what's happening today.
No, that was not what was happening that day. In that phone call, you could hear a kind of rawness to Kevin McCarthy. Maybe he still had some aides around, but this was not a written speech. This hadn't gone through a bunch of people. He was just on the phone talking to Fox with reports of shots fired and not knowing what would come next. We later learned that some of the Fox officials he was speaking to, people who worked in that company through the defamation lawsuit, were also horrified, all the way up to Tucker Carlson saying this was a bad thing, because it obviously was a bad thing. Kevin McCarthy, though, when he found that Trump didn't go away, made the famous pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago. And remember, while he did all that, it was not enough to save his job. He was still ousted by hardliners from that job he so coveted. Or take Senate Republican leader at the time, Mitch McConnell. Here he was 4 years ago on that crime scene floor.
The United States Senate will not be intimidated. We will not be kept out of this chamber by thugs, mobs, or threats. We will not bow to lawlessness or intimidation. We are back at our posts. We will discharge our duty under the Constitution and for our nation. The United States and the United States Congress have faced down much greater threats than the unhinged crowd we saw today. We've never been deterred before and will be not deterred today. They tried to disrupt our democracy. They failed. They failed. They failed to attempt to obstruct the Congress. This failed insurrection only underscores how crucial the task before us is for our republic. Our nation was founded precisely so that the free choice of the American people is what shapes our self-government and determines the destiny of our nation. Not fear, not force, but the peaceful expression of the popular will.
That's pretty well put. In the days to come, and 2 weeks from now, if Donald Trump makes good on his vows to pardon those people, the convicts, the seditionists, the traitors who attacked police, who chanted for the violence or assassination of public officials in both parties, if that goes forward, this will not be the kind of debate, and it will be an important debate, but it won't be the kind where you need to give someone logic or explore their motivations or try to hear them out. It will be the kind of debate where all you need is a mirror, or nowadays a phone where you can click play on that record, on segments like this from the television or YouTube, and just say to people, here's what you all said. Here's what you claimed. Look in the mirror.